Imagine holding on to something so tightly that it shapes your every thought, your every decision, and even the path of your life. You tell yourself you cannot let go because it gives you comfort, security, or a sense of identity. Yet deep inside, there is a quiet voice whispering that perhaps this thing, this habit, this relationship, or even this fear is holding you back from the life God has intended for you. Today, I want to speak directly to your heart about a truth that is both challenging and liberating. God is removing the thing you've been too afraid to let go of. I know that fear can be powerful. Fear convinces us that letting go is dangerous, that we might lose ourselves, or that the unknown will destroy us. But I want you to open your heart and listen carefully, because God is moving in ways you cannot yet see. He sees the entire tapestry of your life, past, present, and future, and He knows that what you are clinging to may be preventing the fullness of His blessings from flowing into your life. What feels like loss, what feels like an ending, is often His divine hand preparing you for something far greater than you could ever imagine. In this moment, I invite you to reflect on the areas of your life where fear has taken hold, where hesitation has kept you from surrender, and where holding on has quietly drained your strength. God is asking you to trust Him, to release the things that limit you, and to step into the freedom He has prepared. This is not just a message about letting go. It is a message about transformation, about stepping into the destiny that God has designed for you, and about embracing the abundant life that begins when we release the weight we were never meant to carry. As we journey together through this message, I want you to remember that God's actions are never random. His timing is always perfect, and His plan is always greater than your fear. He removes not to punish but to protect, not to take away but to restore, not to close doors but to open new ones filled with hope, purpose, and blessing. Today, let your heart remain open, your mind alert, and your spirit ready to receive the truth that will set you free. By the end of this message, you will understand that what you were too afraid to let go of is exactly what God is using to prepare you for the life, the peace, and the joy He has always intended for you. Stay with me, because this is more than a message. It is a revelation, a spiritual awakening, and a call to trust in a God who is always at work, even when you feel you are standing in uncertainty. Let us step forward together into the freedom He is offering, and let your soul be ready to embrace the new chapter that begins the moment you let go. The reason God sometimes removes what you cannot release is because He sees the full picture while you only see a corner of it. You see what you want, what you hoped for, what you imagined would make sense. But God sees what would harm you, what would distract you, and what would quietly weaken you over time. He sees the weight you've learned to carry as if it's normal, even though it has been draining you slowly. You may think you are holding on to something familiar, safe, or necessary, but God sees it as something that is limiting your growth, your peace, and your destiny. There are moments when God steps in not because you willingly surrendered something, but because your spirit was too tired to keep carrying it. He steps into your life with a gentle force, removing something that you were never meant to cling to in the first place. Many times the things we hold on to are connected to our fears: fear of change, fear of emptiness, fear of starting over, fear of losing what little we have left. Fear convinces you that letting go will break you, but God knows that holding on is what is breaking you slowly. You become so accustomed to the weight that you mistake survival for strength. You believe that as long as you can keep managing it, it must be part of your story. But God does not want you to spend your life managing pain, holding on to burdens that were never meant to define you. He knows that some things you cling to will cost you more than you realize. They may cost you peace, clarity, spiritual growth, and even the fullness of your calling. And because He loves you too much to leave you where you are, He sometimes removes the very thing you prayed He would allow you to keep. God sees what you cannot see because He stands outside of time. You see the moment, but He sees the years ahead. You see the comfort of what is familiar, but He sees the danger of what it could become. You see the relationship that feels safe, but He sees how it might hinder your purpose. You see the job that keeps you stable, but He sees how it might keep you small. You see the habit that brings temporary relief, but he sees how it changes your future. So when God removes something you clung to, it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's his mercy disguised as loss. It's his protection wrapped in disruption. He is not trying to break your heart, he is trying to save your life, your purpose, and your destiny. You may not understand his actions at first. You may feel betrayed, confused, or abandoned. You may say, God, why did you take this from me? Why didn't you let it stay? Why couldn't you just fix it instead of removing it? But sometimes God removes because fixing it would still leave you tied to something beneath your calling. He removes because the lesson you need cannot be learned while that thing remains. He removes because your future requires freedom, and freedom cannot happen while your hands are full of what drains you. God is not trying to make your life harder, he is trying to make your life whole. You prayed for strength, so he removed what weakened you. You prayed for clarity, so he removed what confused you. You prayed for peace, so he removed what disturbed you. You prayed for growth, so he removed what limited you. And even though the removal feels painful, God's intentions toward you are good. He is not the author of chaos, he is the architect of transformation. When he removes something, he is preparing your heart for something better, something healthier, something holier. You will look back one day and realize that what you called loss was actually the moment God saved you from carrying something that would have crushed you later. He sees what you cannot see, and that is why he removes what you could not release. Letting go is never easy, especially when fear has taken root in your heart. Fear whispers lies that make holding on feel safer than releasing, convincing you that loss equals failure, that surrender equals weakness, and that stepping into the unknown equals danger. Yet, letting go is often the doorway to spiritual maturity. God allows these moments not to punish you, but to teach you the beauty and power of trust. Spiritual growth is rarely comfortable, and often it requires that you loosen your grip on what you think defines you, what you believe protects you, and what you have held as a source of identity or security. God calls you to surrender, and in that surrender, he draws you closer to himself, teaching you to lean not on your own understanding, but on his perfect wisdom. It is in these moments of letting go that your faith is tested, strengthened, and purified. You may feel the sting of loss, the emptiness of absence, or the weight of uncertainty, yet God uses these experiences to shape your character, refine your heart, and cultivate a reliance on him that you could never achieve while clinging to what is familiar. Fear often convinces you that holding on is necessary because you see it as a safety net. You believe that if you let go, you risk everything, your security, your reputation, your comfort, and even your purpose. But God's call to let go is a call to liberation. He does not ask you to release without reason. He asks you to release so that your life may be unshackled from what binds you. Every attachment that fear clings to is a limitation, a barrier to the full expression of God's purpose for your life. Holding on may feel protective, but it often keeps you trapped in cycles of disappointment, repeated patterns, and spiritual stagnation. God's invitation to surrender is an invitation to step into his plans with courage, trusting that he knows what is best, even when you cannot see the full path ahead. Faith is required because growth is rarely visible in the moment. It is cultivated quietly, invisibly, and often in ways that feel mysterious to the human mind. When God calls you to let go, he is also teaching you to trust in his timing. Spiritual maturity is not merely about learning lessons. It is about learning to trust in the unseen, to walk by faith rather than by sight, and to rely on God as the ultimate source of wisdom, provision, and guidance. Letting go becomes a spiritual exercise, an act of obedience that demonstrates your willingness to allow God to orchestrate your life according to his perfect plan. It is in these moments that you discover the strength of your faith, the depth of God's love, and the freedom that comes when you stop trying to control outcomes. The process may feel uncomfortable, even painful, but every step taken in obedience moves you closer to spiritual clarity, deeper intimacy with God, and a life that reflects his purpose rather than your fear. Surrendering to God's will is also an act of humility. It requires acknowledging that you do not have all the answers and that your own understanding is limited. When you let go, you admit that God is greater than your fears, wiser than your instincts, and more capable than your efforts alone. This humility allows God to work in ways you cannot predict, opening doors that were once hidden and releasing blessings that were trapped behind fear and resistance. Spiritual maturity is built when you release control, embrace trust, and allow God to guide your steps without hesitation or doubt. Finally, letting go strengthens your resilience. Every time you surrender what you thought was essential, you discover that God is faithful, that His plans are good, and that your dependence on Him brings freedom rather than loss. Letting go teaches you to walk boldly into life, unafraid of what the future holds, confident that God is shaping you, guiding you, and preparing you for greater purpose. It is in surrender that fear loses its power, that faith grows strong, and that spiritual maturity flourishes, equipping you to face challenges with courage, hope, and unwavering trust in God's perfect plan. What God removes from your life is never done randomly or without purpose. Every loss, every shift, every closing of a door carries within it a divine intention meant to align your life more closely with His perfect plan. When He removes something, it is not just subtraction, it is preparation for a greater addition, a blessing you cannot yet fully comprehend. God sees the entirety of your journey, past, present, and future, and He orchestrates every event in a way that positions you for what is truly meant for you. Sometimes what you cling to is a comfort, a familiar routine, a relationship, or even a belief that seems vital, yet God recognizes that these things, though not inherently evil, may limit the scope of your destiny. He removes them not to punish, not to take away joy, but to create space for something that aligns perfectly with the purpose He has designed for your life. Often, the fear of losing something blinds you to the greater potential that awaits. You may ask, God, why are you taking this from me? I worked so hard to hold on, and now it feels as though my hands are empty. Yet God's wisdom surpasses your understanding. What you see as loss, He sees as a necessary step toward abundance. What you see as an ending, He sees as an opening for new opportunities, new experiences, and new blessings. There is a divine strategy in every removal. God is clearing the clutter that keeps you from seeing the path He has laid out for you. The space created by what is removed becomes fertile ground for the seeds of destiny, seeds that will grow into something far greater than what you had before. Holding on tightly to what is meant to be released can stunt spiritual growth, limit potential, and even keep you from receiving God's next level of blessings. It's important to understand that God's replacements are often beyond what your heart can imagine. When He takes away a job, a relationship, or a habit, He is not leaving you in emptiness, but is preparing a future that is richer, fuller, and more aligned with His calling for you. You may feel fear, uncertainty, or grief in the process, but these emotions are temporary. God is at work behind the scenes, positioning new blessings that you cannot yet see. The new provision, the new opportunity, or the new relationship is designed not only to meet your needs, but to bring your life into alignment with His greater purpose. He replaces what was removed with something that is not merely adequate, but is divinely tailored for your spiritual, emotional, and personal growth. Every removal is a preparation for a restoration that exceeds what you thought possible. God's timing is perfect, and His understanding of your life surpasses your own. What He removes may feel inconvenient, disruptive, or even painful, yet it is never a mistake. The temporary discomfort of loss is outweighed by the permanent value of the replacement He has in store. Faith requires patience and trust during this process. You may not see the immediate reward, and you may struggle to let go, but God's plan is faithful, intentional, and full of goodness. He does not act hastily. Every step, every removal, and every shift in your life is calculated to bring you closer to the fulfillment of His promises. The better replacement is not just a replacement for what you lost. It is a fulfillment of what you truly need, something that will enhance your spiritual journey, and expand your life in ways you never expected. Moreover, this divine replacement often aligns with your deepest desires in ways that surpass your imagination. When God removes something you cannot release, He is making room for something that will bring not just temporary satisfaction, but lasting joy, peace, and spiritual alignment. He is preparing you to receive blessings that are too big for your current circumstances, ensuring that what comes next will not be hindered by old attachments, outdated patterns, or misplaced priorities. Trusting God in this process is essential because He sees what you cannot see, understands what you cannot understand, and provides what you cannot provide for yourself. His removal is always a prelude to a greater fulfillment, a divine orchestration that ensures your life continues to move toward the abundant destiny He has designed specifically for you. Fear has a way of magnifying the loss we anticipate and minimizing the blessings that God has already prepared. Often, the things we dread losing are not nearly as powerful or essential as our fear makes them appear. Fear convinces us that letting go will leave us empty, broken, or helpless. But God asks us to trust Him because He sees the full spectrum of what is truly best for our lives. The fear of losing something is always smaller than God's plan for restoring and blessing you. He is aware of every detail of your life, every hidden struggle, and every met longing. While fear focuses on what is slipping away, God focuses on what is coming toward you, on what is being prepared to fill the space left behind by what was removed. The moment you are tempted to cling, He is already at work orchestrating your restoration in a way that is far beyond what your imagination could conceive. Fear often distorts perspective, making temporary setbacks feel permanent and minor inconveniences feel catastrophic. You may believe that losing a relationship, a career, a habit, or even a possession will prevent you from achieving fulfillment. Yet God's vision of your life is infinitely greater than your own. What you fear losing may in reality be a weight that has been holding you down, preventing you from stepping into the abundance He has prepared. God's restoration is not contingent on your timing or your ability to understand. It is grounded in His unwavering faithfulness and His perfect plan for your life. Every removal He allows is an opportunity for you to see that what seems like a loss is actually a prelude to a blessing that surpasses anything you could have imagined. When you trust Him, your fear begins to shrink in comparison to the certainty of His promises. The fear of loss often paralyzes, causing hesitation, doubt, and resistance to God's guidance. You may cling to what is familiar because you are afraid of what lies beyond, yet God's plan for restoration exceeds the limitations of fear. He is the God who turns mourning into dancing, scarcity into abundance, and emptiness into fullness. He knows that your heart may struggle to release control, but He also knows that the freedom to receive what He has prepared requires letting go. Every time you feel afraid, it is an invitation to surrender, to trust, and to remember that the restoration God promises is larger than the void left behind by what has been removed. Your fear cannot prevent His provision, and it cannot outmatch the generosity of His plans. Fear exaggerates what is leaving while underestimating what is being prepared. God's restoration often comes in forms that surpass your current understanding and expectations. What He restores is not simply a replacement for what you lost. It is an enhancement of your life, an elevation of your spirit, and a redirection toward your true purpose. Fear convinces you that you are losing control, yet God's work assures you that He is always in control. His hand moves in ways that are often invisible, crafting circumstances, opening doors, and aligning relationships to bring about His perfect outcome. Your role is to trust, to wait, and to allow Him to demonstrate that what He restores is infinitely greater than what your fear has convinced you is gone. Faith is the bridge between loss and restoration. When you allow fear to dominate, you block the flow of God's blessings, but when you respond in trust, you position yourself to receive abundantly. The fear of losing is never greater than God's ability to restore, redeem, and renew. Every fear-filled thought, every moment of hesitation, is met by a God who is already working behind the scenes, preparing a future where your loss is transformed into gain, your disappointment into fulfillment, and your doubt into testimony. Trusting Him means embracing the reality that His plan is bigger, His timing is perfect, and His restoration is always more powerful than any fear that seeks to hold you back. God's promise is certain. What you fear losing is nothing compared to what He is preparing to give you. Many of us fail to recognize how deeply our attachments shape our identity. We often tie our sense of self to relationships, achievements, possessions, or routines, believing that these external things define who we are. Yet God sees beyond these temporary markers. He knows that true identity is found not in what we hold, but in who we are in Him. Attachments that seem harmless or comforting can subtly bind us, limiting our spiritual growth, clouding our judgment, and even keeping us from fulfilling our divine purpose. God, in His wisdom, allows certain attachments to be removed so that our hearts can breathe freely, our minds can think clearly, and our souls can reconnect with the core of who He created us to be. What we cling to may feel essential, but sometimes it is precisely what keeps us from fully embracing the person God intends for us to become. The attachments we form often mask fear, insecurity, or a desire for control. We cling to people, jobs, or routines because they provide a sense of safety, but in doing so, we may unknowingly exchange true freedom for a false sense of stability. God sees that these attachments, while offering temporary comfort, may also restrict the expansion of our spiritual vision. He removes them not out of cruelty but out of love, so that we can experience the freedom necessary to pursue our calling with clarity and courage. Each removal is an act of divine mercy, a gentle correction that allows us to step into the fullness of our identity without being tethered to what diminishes our spiritual and personal growth. When God frees us from attachments, He invites us to shift our dependence from what is fleeting to what is eternal. Human attachments are often fragile, uncertain, and conditional, whereas God's presence is steadfast, unchanging, and reliable. By removing attachments that threaten our spiritual and emotional well-being, He redirects our focus toward Him, the source of true identity and lasting purpose. This process may feel uncomfortable or even painful, as it challenges long-held beliefs about security and self-worth. Yet it is precisely through this discomfort that we learn to rely on God, to trust His wisdom, and to discover the depth of strength and resilience He has placed within us. Attachments can also distort our perception of our own value. We may measure ourselves by the approval of others, by accomplishments, or by the possessions we accumulate. But God's vision of our worth is entirely different. He sees us as beloved, chosen, and equipped for a purpose that transcends worldly measures. When He removes attachments, He is removing the false mirrors that reflect incomplete or misleading images of who we are. This allows us to encounter ourselves as God does, precious, capable, and fully sufficient in His grace. The freedom that comes from letting go of attachments is not emptiness. It is the space to embrace the fullness of God's vision for our lives, to grow in faith, and to step boldly into the plans He has designed for us. Furthermore, attachments can hinder relationships, opportunities, and spiritual encounters that God has prepared for us. When our hearts are tied to what is familiar or comfortable, we may miss the blessings He is offering. By releasing these attachments, God clears the way for deeper connections, greater insights, and richer experiences that align with our true calling. He prepares us to receive more than we could have imagined, not as a replacement for what we have lost, but as an enhancement to our spiritual journey and personal growth. Each removal is an invitation to trust, to surrender, and to embrace the freedom that comes when our identity rests fully in Him rather than in what is temporary. Ultimately, God's act of removing attachments is an act of restoration and liberation. It is His way of showing that we are not defined by what we hold, but by who we are in Christ. It is an opportunity to step into life unburdened, to pursue our calling without distraction, and to experience the fullness of joy, peace, and spiritual maturity that He intends. When God removes what threatens our identity, He is not taking away life. He is giving us the freedom to live the life He has always envisioned, one rooted in purpose, faith, and unwavering dependence on Him. Endings are never easy, especially when they are forced upon us or come at a time we least expect. Human nature resists closure, clinging to what is familiar, comfortable, or seemingly necessary, even when it no longer serves our highest good. God, however, understands that endings are often essential for beginnings to unfold. He allows certain chapters of our lives to close because He is preparing us for a new season, a fresh start, and a greater purpose that we could never reach while holding on to the past. Every ending is purposeful, every closure intentional, and every removal a step toward the divine destiny He has designed for us. What may feel like a painful departure, a loss, or an abrupt change is actually a sacred preparation orchestrated by God to position us for the next stage of growth, blessing, and spiritual fulfillment. Fear and resistance often accompany endings because we are naturally drawn to the security of what we know. The unknown can feel threatening, and we may question God's intentions when something familiar is taken away. Yet God's vision surpasses our limited perspective. He sees the potential, the opportunities, and the blessings that lie beyond the door that is closing. He knows that staying in what is familiar can keep us stagnant, limited, and spiritually constrained. By allowing an ending, He clears the path for a beginning that is aligned with His purpose, something that not only meets our needs but elevates us into a deeper experience of His presence, power, and provision. Every ending is a divine clearing of space, a preparation of the soil, and a planting of seeds that will bear fruit in due season. Endings also teach the invaluable lesson of surrender, letting go of what we cannot control, releasing attachments to outcomes, and trusting in God's wisdom require faith, patience, and humility. God's removal of certain things challenges us to trust Him more deeply, to recognize His sovereignty, and to understand that His timing is perfect. When He closes a chapter we are afraid to end, it is because He is inviting us into a higher level of obedience and intimacy with Him. He is showing us that our lives are not meant to be dictated by fear, habit, or comfort, but by faith, courage, and alignment with His divine will. Endings are, in this way, instruments of spiritual refinement, shaping our character and preparing our hearts for the blessings He has in store. New beginnings require readiness, and readiness often comes through closure. If we cling to what has passed, we may miss the new opportunities God is placing before us. What seems like an ending may feel disruptive or painful, yet it is often the very thing necessary to release us from limitations, open doors to new possibilities, and align our lives with God's perfect plan. The things God allows to end are not meant to diminish us. They are meant to elevate us. He removes what is incomplete, unhealthy, or misaligned with His purposes, so that we can step into what is abundant, life-giving, and spiritually enriching. Every ending is a divine setup for a beginning that requires courage, clarity, and faith to embrace fully. Furthermore, God's endings are designed to redirect our focus. When one chapter closes, He encourages us to shift our hearts, attention, and energy toward Him and His promises. Endings invite reflection, discernment, and the cultivation of spiritual insight. They teach us to depend on God rather than circumstances, to trust His timing other than our plans, and to seek His guidance rather than rely on our understanding alone. Through every ending, God demonstrates that He is the ultimate author of our story, that He is in control of every detail, and that what is coming next is far more glorious than what has passed. Finally, endings are not simply about loss. They are about transformation. They are the preparatory steps for a new season in which faith is strengthened, clarity is gained, and spiritual maturity is deepened. God's removal of what we are afraid to release is an act of divine mercy and strategic preparation, ensuring that our hearts, minds, and spirits are ready to receive the fullness of His blessings. By allowing closures, God is not abandoning us, but guiding us into a new chapter where His plans for restoration, abundance, and purpose can be fully realized. Endings are His way of making room for beginnings that are richer, more fulfilling, and perfectly aligned with the life He has intended for us. As we reflect on the journey God takes us through, we begin to understand that His actions, though sometimes mysterious and challenging, are always rooted in love, wisdom, and a perfect understanding of our lives. Life often brings moments when we feel loss, when something we hold dear is removed, and when fear tempts us to resist what we cannot control. Yet, in every instance, God is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating our steps with a divine purpose that we cannot fully grasp in the moment. What we perceive as endings, removals, or disruptions are often His gentle hand preparing us for greater growth, deeper faith, and a more profound intimacy with Him. Every challenge, every fear, and every painful letting go carries a hidden blessing, a divine lesson, and a promise that His plan for our lives is far greater than anything we could imagine. God removes the things we are too afraid to release because He sees what we cannot. He recognizes that clinging to certain habits, relationships, or circumstances can limit our potential and obscure the blessings He has prepared for us. Through removal, He creates space for spiritual maturity, clarity, and freedom. It is in the act of letting go, even when it is uncomfortable, that our faith is strengthened, our reliance on Him deepens, and our hearts are prepared to receive His perfect provision. Each step of surrender teaches us that God's wisdom surpasses our understanding, that His timing is flawless, and that His plans for restoration are certain and abundant. When God removes, He also replaces. He does not take away without purpose, and He does not leave emptiness behind. What He restores is greater, more aligned with our destiny, and perfectly suited to our growth. The fear of loss may loom large, but it is always smaller than God's promise of restoration, renewal, and blessing. Every attachment that threatens our identity, every fear that limits our perspective, and every ending that shakes our comfort zone is an opportunity to experience the fullness of His mercy, the depth of His love, and the abundance of His plan for us. In trusting Him, we discover that what seems like loss is actually preparation. What feels like pain is actually refinement. And what appears to be an ending is actually a sacred beginning. Our lives are journeys of trust, surrender, and faith. God's hand is always at work, guiding, removing, restoring, and preparing us for the future He has promised. He asks us to release what holds us back, to embrace change with courage, and to walk forward with confidence in His perfect plan. When we surrender, we step into freedom, we open ourselves to blessings beyond our imagination, and we grow into the fullness of who He created us to be. Our may resist, our hearts may grieve, but God's love remains constant, His wisdom unwavering, and His purpose unshakable. By trusting Him, we align ourselves with the life He designed, a life filled with hope, restoration, and spiritual abundance. Thank you for allowing me to share this message today. May your hearts be encouraged, your faith strengthened, and your trust in God deepened. Remember that He is always at work, removing what hinders you, guiding you toward what is best, and preparing a future full of promise. May you embrace His plan with courage, release what holds you back with faith, and step boldly into the blessings He has prepared. May God's peace, love, and guidance fill your life abundantly, today and always.